Good morning everyone and welcome back to the two-headed wolf gaming channel and last Epoch, as today we're creating a brand new Sentinel as we're heading towards the Void Knight Mastery. Yesterday we created the Paladin. It has been a really fun character to build and we're pretty much gonna do the same thing today. Create a Sentinel, go for Void Knight Mastery, level up until around level 35, at which point we draw some conclusions and call it a day. The point of this series is throughout all of the classes and all of the masteries up to a point where we get a pretty good idea of what they're going for and what they have to offer, but I don't want to spoil too much for you guys. There will still be plenty of content for you to discover by yourself after level 35, both in skill development and endgame items. There will be content, there's a lot for you to have fun with. That is the point of this. I guess in a way, the hopes that I have for this series is that you're gonna watch one of these episodes for a class that you care about, or maybe you watch the whole thing and you will take that knowledge and you'll take the ideas that I had and turn them into an even better build. Or maybe you go for a different idea entirely, which I would be curious to find out about. Leave your ideas down in the comments below because I would be curious to try them out as well. At this point, I am fully committed to do this series and stop each and every day at around level 35, but I really want to push even further. So as soon as we're done with this, which is like what, 14 more days, I am going to either return to one of these characters or make a new one and push towards the end game, and maybe I'll try even some of your ideas out. So if you care about the end game, join me then. For now, this is what we are doing. And if you want to find out everything that I'm doing with the series, you can read it down in the description below. I've put all the information there, or you can watch my previous run from Sentinel to Paladin as I explain things as we're playing along the way. This is an intro that I'm not going to do from here on out, but I felt like this was the second run, so it felt important to at least share part of what I'm doing here. Let's focus on the Sentinel. And I feel like one of the things which felt pretty useful last time is for us to take a look at the key skills that the Sentinel had to offer, and of course what the Paladin had to offer, and make a very early plan of what we might take into consideration as we're leveling up the Sentinel. What we know already, when we take a look at the key skills that the Sentinel has to offer, when we're looking at the power scaling tags, which we see at the bottom there, we see that most of the skills for the Sentinel is melee combat, right? Melee damage and physical damage. That's what pretty much the theme of all of this is. Sure, you can go with throwing attack and all that, but it's just a general idea. Today we're going for something like a two-handed warrior, so melee combat and physical damage is the main point. If we take a look at the Void Knight Mastery, and we're not gonna read through the skills, we're gonna discover them in game and we're gonna try them out at that point. It's more fun this way. But once again, we're looking at the power scaling tags at the bottom, and we're looking at the main ones. We have here Void and Melee, so this is a melee attack. Then we have Void and Spell, Void and Spell, Void and Spell, Void and Spell. So there is a lot of void damage that we're working with here. So that is an item that we will need to keep in our stash. Make sure that we have enough void multipliers that will increase the power of these skills. And there's also spells. I will see how we can invest in that. Probably it's going to have a heavier impact on our mana pool than last time, but we shall see. There's also one more important tag which I've seen in each and every one of the skills which the game shows us right now, and that is the area scaling tag. All of these skills have or are influenced by area of effect, and thus this is something we might want to consider as we're going forwards as sort of an investment. I guess all of these create like circles on the ground which damage enemies. This is what it looks like. And I feel like area of effect might be something which might be very important for this character. Well, we shall see more as we're playing the game. For now, let's get started. So here we are once more. I'm going to edit out most of this early area as we've already seen it yesterday when we played the Sentinel for the very first time. We've unlocked all of the early skills, so we know what to expect. No point in showing that off anymore. What I am going to show off is anything that has to do with the quote-unquote build that I am thinking that I'm going for at the moment as we're heading towards the Void Knight. And I feel like one of the important things that I have to show to begin with is right here in the specialization slot. Now, we are not at level 4 yet, so we're not there. But if we take a look at the Vengeance skill, and I'm gonna read it once again, maybe you don't know about it. Vengeance is a melee attack that also prepares you to riposte incoming hits. If Vengeance successfully hits an enemy and you take a hit in the next 2 seconds, you will riposte, taking 25% less damage and striking at a nearby enemy. So we're taking less damage and also attacking back the enemy when we take damage. Pretty good skill to begin with. But we've seen yesterday this modifier, which sounded pretty awesome and valuable for a Void Knight especially. Essence of Revenge. Riposte has a chance to grant the Void Knight Essence on hit. Void Essences last 7 seconds and grant 15% increased Void damage, 15% increased melee damage, and 10% reduced stun duration. You can have a maximum of 3 Void Essences at once. There's a 15% chance that we will gain one of these Void Essences on Riposte. Here is one important element which I missed yesterday, I didn't pay attention to. It says Riposte has a chance to grant a Void Essence, not Vengeance. Riposte is the attack that we are doing when we get hit. So there is a chance that we will generate that point when we get hit. There's this skill right here, Essence of Vindication. Kills with Vengeance have a chance to grant you a Void Essence. 15% once again per point invested. So this is something that I am going to invest into early on. I don't think on this run I am going to continue playing with Vengeance. I think I'm going to respecialize it later on. And since we didn't see respecialization yesterday, we are going to see it today. But for now, I am going to go forward. I am going to be using items which I already found yesterday using the Paladin. The point of this series is to show off the classes, not so much the go solo self-found or anything like that. So I'll see you a bit later, a few levels later most likely, or whenever I consider that there's something important to show off. Either way, we're gonna be spending half an hour today, then I'm going to be farming out for a bunch of levels, and then I'll return once again so that we can spend another half hour, then farm again, and so on and so forth. So I'll see you in 1 second. About 9 levels later. There was really nothing in the early game that I wanted to show off, except I guess for this note, which was something which we discussed in the Sentinel to Paladin run, and I wanted to correct mostly this idea that it wasn't an attack, it wasn't Vengeance that actually gave us the Void Essence, it was Riposte, and then of course it changes when you go invest in them. And I have returned about 9 levels later. There really wasn't anything in the early game that I wanted to show off. Nothing that we haven't seen yesterday on our Sentinel to Paladin run. I guess the only thing I wanted to make a note of was the Vengeance skill with the 2 nodes, which I didn't fully understand yesterday, and I felt like it might be important for people who want to go with this skill and want to spec into Void Knight. With this in mind, I spec'd out of Vengeance very early through in Rive, but we're gonna talk about active skills here in a moment. For now, let's take a quick look at gear because there's nothing too special to talk about. I'm just gonna show 3 pieces and then we can move back to skills and make a plan there. I have this two-handed axe, which is pretty good, 25 melee damage, plus 8 melee void damage, 85% increased stun chance with melee attacks, which is pretty good, especially when we're using a two-handed weapon, because we don't have that shield. Stunning enemies makes us survive a little longer. 34% chance to bleed on hit, it's an extra debuff, why not? I also took these boots out of the stash, where we're getting in total 14% increased movement speed, 156 dodge rating if we've been hit recently, 70% increased dodge rating, some dexterity, 5% less damage taken while moving, so a good pair of boots, especially for early on. And then I took this idol out of the stash, which provides us with 47% increased melee void damage. I need to unlock slots before I can equip it, but definitely something which will come in use very soon. With that in mind, let's talk about skills, and we're gonna start with active skills. I picked Rive here because I like how it behaves. I feel like it's working quite well with a two-handed weapon. It is a combo of 3 melee attacks. Every third consecutive attack with Rive slashes in a full circle around the character, dealing double damage. So when we get surrounded, this is a very good attack, plus the double damage. We have an estimate of 127 damage per second, so we are doing about 250 damage when we're doing that spin. Can be very good. I feel like it's maximizing the potential of a two-handed weapon. I also unlocked a second specialization slot at level 8. I didn't really know what to throw in at this moment. I'll probably respec it as soon as we unlock the Void Knight. That's my thinking at this moment. However, for the moment, I picked Warpath just as another ability to clear surrounding mobs. I feel like at times we might need to get out of it. Warpath also moves us while we do the spin attack, so we can get out of bad situations. Since once again, we don't have a shield, we're not blocking attacks. There's no chance to block attacks. So we'll talk about Rive and its specialization. What I want to go for is definitely here to the left, Temporal Warrior, where Rive deals more void damage and our chance to echo with Rive is doubled. Well, what is Echo? Echoing is a Void Knight mastery bonus. It grants you a chance for your attacks to repeat after a second. This node's Echo bonus has no effect unless you become a Void Knight. So there is a chance we're doubling our attacks, and I feel like that is very good, especially if we can double the damage right on our third attack. And we have probably a lot more points that we can invest in making this even more powerful. And then we have the Ripples of Oblivion, where Rive deals more damage. This effect is tripled for echoes. So it does 3 times the damage for echoes. Sounds good. But because this is a bonus which we will get once we pick the Void Knight Mastery, I feel like early on it does not matter. We don't need to hurry in this direction. Over here, we're gonna invest a point, and I've already invested the point in Champion. Rive deals more damage and has increased chance to stun enemies. I wanted to have at least a little chance to stun enemies around us, thus increasing our survivability. We will go to the left to Weapon Specialist, where by using an axe, a two-handed axe, we're also going to get 1 void damage per vitality. 1 void damage per vitality. Okay, keep this in mind. There's different effects if you're using a sword or if you're using a mace, but we're using axe, we want the void damage, and we need to keep in mind that we need vitality there. I have 3 points right now. I'm going to invest another one in Champion because I want to unlock the next nodes. And I want Laceration here as well. Rive's Third Strike lacerates enemies on hit. Lacerate enemies take melee damage over time for 3 seconds, with base damage equal to 100% of your added melee damage. Laceration does not stack. That sounds pretty good to me, and there's a bit more to do to the right, but we'll stop here for now. I am going to invest another point in Champion so that I can pick Weapon Specialist. On the Warpath, we have here to the right abilities which are related to Void. We're going to invest first of all in Void Spiral. Warpath deals more melee Void damage. This effect is doubled while wielding a two-handed weapon. We are doing that, we want that. We can shred armor, or we could go even further, Echoing Knight. While spinning, you deal increased void damage and you have a chance each second to create an echo at a recent location that uses Warpath on the spot for 2 seconds. This chance is equal to twice your chance for skills to echo. You can only create a Warpath echo if you have been spinning for at least 2 seconds and have traveled at least 4 meters in the past 2 seconds. Which once again, the echo is something that we can have only when we pick the Void Knight Mastery. Either way, I like the idea of investing 2 points over here and then getting 1 point into shredding enemy armor. It is an effect which I feel like it's going to help us a lot. Which takes us finally to passives. On the passives, what we want is vitality. First of all, this is going to increase our void damage, so we're going to do that. I am going to be investing 5 points here. And then we have 5 more. I'm not going to push any further for now. Getting resistances could also be very important. Stun avoidance feels very useful right now, but I feel like getting armor maximized and taking less damage by percentage from nearby enemies is going to be really good for our survivability. So we're gonna start investing into armor for now. And there we have it. At this moment, I am not going to use anything else. Shield Bash we cannot use, Shield Rush we cannot use unless we specialize in it and we remove the need for using a shield. However, it's not something that I want to do for this run. And as you can see, for right now, our survivability is pretty decent. Health regeneration, where we don't have a whole lot, even though we've increased our health regeneration, it has been by percentage. We don't have flat health regeneration, so it's not super effective. At least not yet. But because we will need to build a very strong character, we're going to invest in health regeneration, and we are also going to be investing in a lot of armor. I am not sure what the Void Knight will offer us as far as defenses go. But most likely it's going to have to be... I don't know. I am hoping that we have a choice there. Because otherwise we're gonna have to mostly invest in our Sentinel, which doesn't appeal to me too much. Shrine of Ice Beetle. Okay. Come on, Ice Beetle. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. But at the number that we've been fighting Phoenix birds, I've started thinking if we are the baddies, if you know that reference. I think I might have said this already in the first episode, but I keep thinking about it every time we kill Phoenix birds. Because you don't really see in movies or games, the reference in itself that people who fight Phoenix birds are on the side of good. It's like sort of a moral compass there. If a Phoenix bird is on your side, you know you're on the side of good. So far so good. It's definitely fighting with a two-handed weapon as a Sentinel feels very different than what we've done yesterday, fighting with a shield. It's a huge difference. It might not seem like it, but the amount of tankiness that you have once you have a shield, that chance to reduce incoming damage, is pretty strong. When you're fighting this boss or bosses like this who do that flame attack, don't interrupt them, don't stun them when they're doing that flame kill. Go beside them, go behind them, and do damage like that. It's sort of the idea that don't interrupt your enemy when it's making a mistake. I kept the Warhammer, the throwing hammer, on hand, just because I felt like it was useful many times.
The Epoch is ours! Raya, aid me!
He's doing bigger attacks, more area of effect, fire damage. But as you can see, I think we're doing pretty well. And you can see that we're applying bleeds, we're applying lacerations as well, getting even more damage on the enemies. Let's see, anything good? Nothing that good. I think one of the rules which I can change here, it's on the two-handed weapon. We care at this point only about axes. Let's do that.
Now get me out of here. Oh, it a little bit more knowledge.
Okay, save the old man.
I must reach Lena at once.
I wish he'd take us on a beach, but he's gonna teleport us into the end times. Let's check out the shop, see if there's anything useful. I see nothing of much value, so it doesn't matter. I'm not looking for anything to craft at the moment. We're just looking at pushing
He's back.
further.
He's been.
You're back. No, do you get a feeling Lena?
Yes.
I'm sorry to you too.
One of the things I really loved in Path of Exile, and it saddens me that these games don't have it, it's how quickly you can pick up quests in Path of Exile. It seems like such a quality of life, rather than having to go through the entire dialogue and push forward. In Path of Exile, you go, you click, you get out. That's all. Nothing more than that. Here we are in the ruined era.
What's this place? Where did the Osprix go? I'll have to check my surroundings.
I guess I'll have to change my language because the end of time is a very different map. It's a very different time than the ruined era. Which means that these videos will not age properly. But as you can see, so far so good. The laceration applies pretty often. We're getting some good bleeds on the enemies as well. And survivability is not that much of an issue. Haven't been using health potions. So we're good. Nice. I love it when the gameplay in itself feels very good. This is something I don't know how much I want to keep bringing up Diablo 4, but hearing that not enough mana all the time, it really is annoying. Okay, what do I want to invest into next? Resistances could also be very good. And strength. If we take a look here, if we press the Alt button, it says that each point of strength increases armor by 4% and improves skills that scale with strength, such as Warpath and Drive. We use both of them at the moment. So that could be good. We can invest into this, or I could invest into stun avoidance, which I guess you could say it's also very important, plus the extra damage. But for now, let's start investing. Getting strength is giving us extra damage and we get fire resistance. So if 1 point of strength increases our armor by 4%, that's survivability plus some extra damage. Warpath has leveled up once more. We are going to go with Molten Path. Global increase void damage. Global increase void damage. Apocalypse World. Warpath base physical damage is converted to void. Consequently, this damage scales with increased void damage, but not increased physical damage. Warpath has a chance to inflict time rot, which is another effect once we are a void knight. Oh no, it doesn't. Warpath has a chance to inflict time rot. Bleed and ignite chance from all sources are converted to time rot chance for Warpath. Swaps Warpath's physical tag for void tag. Okay, time rot is an ailment that deals 45 void damage over time, increases stun duration by 5%, lasts 3 seconds, and stacks up to 12 times. Then don't mind if I do. let's invest in this direction. If we're gonna try out that skill today, we need only one more level up to get to it. I feel like that is a really nice way to end today's episode. Whenever we get to that, it's going to be the perfect time to do it. When I'm looking at my attacks, I see that I don't really do a whole lot of critical strikes. I think critical strikes could help us even further. I will look at the weapon that we're having. Let's go to the forge. Let's throw it here. And let's see. Critical strikes. Not a multiplier. We want a chance. So we're gonna throw this here. We still have a lot of potential to craft this weapon. I'm gonna go even further with Void. We're gonna go back here. Requires level 13 to forge. Okay. I'm gonna wait a bit longer. Will I be using it at level 13? Maybe I should just invest in void damage. Because at level 13 I might be replacing this one. Still, we're getting a few heavy attacks there. So it's not all bad.
Terra watch over you.
Yes, whatever.
Gods.
Enter the last refuge. The story in the early game is interesting. It's a bit weird to wrap your head around somehow, especially because you are looking at the map, or at least that is the situation for me, because I've been looking at the map. The desire in me wanted to go in the order of the timeline, like go ancient era and then see the cities develop and all that until you get to the end of time. Somehow that is something that maybe it's just because it makes sense in your head to go time-wise. And this going back and forth through time is a bit weird at first. But once you get used to it, the story is starting to be more and more appealing. I don't know exactly how it is in the end. Whether that holds out until all the way to the end of the campaign. And I'm not gonna see it for the next 14 days either. But I'm hoping that it is good. One of the most amazing things which I've observed in this game is the fact that experience gain is really good. It feels like you're constantly leveling up. As you're playing through the early game, there's no point where I played for more than, I don't know, 15 minutes at around level 35, maybe not even that, and not have gained a level somewhere. Whether it is in your skills, whether it is in your character, level ups happen quite often, which gives you a good feeling of progression. Equipment is a bit more hard to come by. I mean, you find good pieces of gear. However, they don't really apply to your character. And here's where I think a better loot filter might help me more. Just because I wouldn't be able to see all of the items that go up on the ground. Which would give at least the impression, sort of a... It's like a placebo. If you think you have a problem, you get a pill, and all of a sudden the impression is that the problem is not there because you think that that pill, that sugar pill is actually having an effect, but it's actually just in your head. And that might be the case with the loot filter. If you don't see the items on the ground, you don't care. It's like, yeah, you don't even think about it, I guess. Until it actually happens, until you actually find something you care. Rune of Refinement. Let's see what else. Warrior's Pickaxe. Yeah, nothing special. I'm running around, I'm doing these side quests. Side quests are one of the best ways, not the best way, to get skill points, to get idol unlocks. There's plenty of advantages to doing side quests. I'm sure there will be a list at some point that tells you which ones you should be doing and which ones might not want to care for. Although it seems like most of the quests are along the way to where you need to get. Even if at first it seems like you have to get out of your way to reach a certain area, it comes out that if you do the main quest, all of a sudden it sends you in the direction that you need to do the secondary quests. Don't write them out, do them out. I'm sure there will be a list at some point, like in Path of Exile, which tells you which quests you should do for passive skill points and things like that. Let's get the Apocalypse World. And I'm praying for one thing, that it looks purple. Tell me that it changes the way it looks. Yes. I was worried there for a second. I said, I believe in the last run, that I like to see cosmetics change. Like when you have different weapons, different armors, I want to see them on the character. It really gives me a huge level of satisfaction on playing the game. But even on skills too. If you tell me it's starting to do void damage, if it changes passively what it does, I do like to see it. And I'm happy that they put the extra effort here early on to throw some of these effects into the game.
Yes.
Gods be with you.
Try not to hurt yourself.
Stay safe.
Heavy quiver, slightly better helmet, why not? Increased spell damage, void resistance, increased elemental damage. I think it's better than this one. Yes. Experience Shrine. Unfortunately, we've pretty much cleared the area. Now we don't need to return there. The quest is actually here. So it's somewhere in the next area. And we've cleared all the enemies from here. Unfortunately, this shrine is going to go to waste. But I think this is a good moment to stop. At this moment, I'm just following quests. I am leveling up. I think so far, I'm getting a certain direction in which I want to push the build, but not... I have no idea what I want to do. I don't know exactly how we will change. I guess on one side, there is a certain... I don't know how to call it. After playing the Paladin yesterday and ending on such a high note, starting with a character from scratch, it's definitely something that you feel. You feel it a lot. And I think the big problem that I have right now is that I don't know exactly in which direction I'm heading with these skills. I am going to upgrade them. I believe that when we pick the next specialization, the Echo will actually prove to us that, yeah, this is actually cool. But with that in mind, hope you have enjoyed this episode. I'm going to return in the next one. As soon as I've been farming, I'm probably going to start with picking the specialization, and then I'm going to farm a bit more. 5, 7 levels, who knows how many. And then we return to spend everything I've gathered, level up our character, and test the power of the Void Knight. Hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.